Bama picks up a couple of big commitments in the transfer portal, and the college football playoff kept Alabama out, and boy, they needed the tide. What a bad product for the first ever weekend of the postseason, the expanded playoff. We're going to get into both of those things right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Use that promo code Bama Tailgate, 20% off, newlifeart.com. Let's get the show started. Roll Tide, everybody. What do you say, everybody? And again, hope you're having a great holiday season. Look, I got my guy on there, the Green Bear himself, and we're celebrating. And yesterday was the start of the college football playoff expanded edition, the 12-team playoff, playoff field that seemed more like charity than teams that you would want to actually see play. And honestly, it worked out that way. Before we get into that, though, Mick Gillespie here at Broadcaster Mick. Make sure that you guys are part of what we're doing here and, be part of it. Like, subscribe, thumbs up on the channel. Okay, my take. I was furious, absolutely furious when this committee, which are buffoon-like and ought to be fired from this job, moved SMU ahead of Alabama. Bama was a spot in front of them in both of the major polls. But somehow when the committee put this thing together, they had them in and Alabama out. When you looked at the matchups, there were a lot of teams that had good records with really no substance behind those records. And people seem to hold Alabama's losses, including the Oklahoma loss, against them instead of paying attention to the fact that they played one of the toughest schedules in the country. And in the fact that they beat maybe the best team in the country in Georgia, the SEC champ, a team that crushed the ACC champ. They beat a team that beat Clemson, the ACC champ, a week before. They beat SMU and Indiana and Clemson. These teams, Boise State, ASU, they don't belong in the top 12. And Alabama clearly did. But they kept them out. You could feel that it was like a lot of maneuvering behind the scenes to make it happen. And what did we get? We got exactly what I thought we were going to get. We got an absolute shit show. And I'm sorry for the language, people, but I just have to say it like that. It was terrible. None of the games were good. Clemson was the closest team to be in it, and they really weren't in it. They were down 14 the entire game. SMU went to Penn State. Penn State's okay. SMU's terrible, and they got blown off the field. Indiana, never in it against Notre Dame. They didn't have the players to do it. These playoff games that were supposed to be so great were awful. And then when you look at next week, you got Boise State and Arizona State setting up for a very similar type game because they're teams that haven't beaten anybody and they get a path to the second round. So it is what it is. I think that the committee ought to be disappointed in the product that they put out. I'm sure the television ratings would have been a lot better had Alabama been in there, but you would have had a game. The bottom line is if you'd have sent Alabama to Notre Dame, to South Bend, or you would have sent them to Happy Valley, to Penn State, those two games, the tickets would have been astronomical price-wise. The TV ratings would have been great. But instead, once again, we fall into this trap where we're looking at these teams that we just feel sorry for, and we give out these charity bids. And at the end of the day, you get what you get. And if it's not Alabama, South Carolina would have been better. Ole Miss would have been better. I think even Miami probably would have been better, although their conference isn't any good. And that's why they were 0 for 2 in the playoff and really, two doormats when it comes to the 12 teams that they put in. So I hope the committee's proud of themselves and the haters that were pushing so hard, knowing that Alabama is one of the top 12 teams. But it's just this, hey, we're sick of seeing Alabama win. And Alabama was one of the teams that you could have put in this field and would have had a legitimate chance to run the table and win the national championship game. Yeah, they were a little Jekyll and Hyde. I'm not going to argue with that, but they belonged in this field. And at the end of the day, the matchups were not good enough. And college football is better than the crap that they put on TV Friday night and Saturday. All right, with that said, good news for Alabama is maybe they didn't make the playoff, but they were at it over the weekend, adding to the roster. Not two, but three different guys committing to Alabama. yesterday. So what a big day for the Crimson Tide. And it started with Kam Dewberry, the offensive lineman from Texas A&M. Here's a guy who got a ton of offers coming out of high school, including Texas and some other places. Went to SMU, went to Missouri to take visits, came to Tuscaloosa, and he's going to join Alabama on that offensive line. So this is a good pickup for Alabama when you look at the way that things are working right now for the Crimson Tide. They could lose Booker to the NFL. Maybe Parker Brailsford gets an NFL shot, although he says he's coming back. There's going to be 3 guys that return. You got some guys that have been there, but he started against Alabama, had some injury issues last year. When he was healthy, he was pretty good, and he comes to Tuscaloosa. So that was a good one for Alabama, and it was such a weird week too. Jalen Mbakwe was here, then he was leaving, and then he's back, which is great. Then you hear that Brian Kelly was around and Lane Kiffin trying to buy Alabama players. And then you get some guys in the transfer portal to commit. Now you got a big day over the weekend for Alabama, right? Then you got Isaiah Horton in a position of need for Alabama. You're talking about 4 wide receivers transferring out. Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law, Caleb Odom, and Emmanuel Henderson. So you got spots there. And Horton kind of reminded me of Jeremy Bernard. Bernard was at Washington. He was behind 3 guys that were excellent wide receivers. You knew he was going to be the next guy, and he transfers to Alabama, and that's exactly how it played out. He, by the end of the season, even with Ryan Williams, Hollywood, all of the crazy stuff that he was able to do and could make plays that he could make out on the field, it was Bernard that was Alabama's best go-to option by the end of the season, right? And it felt the same way for Horton when he was in Miami. Maybe the 4th most productive wide receiver, but he was really viewed as the future of this team, and certainly is going to be well received for Alabama. He's from the Memphis area, wanted to get closer to home, so now he's coming to Alabama from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And so now, Alabama will have him went to Oakland High School in Tennessee. So that's another one. And then when you thought all the smoke had cleared, Nikhai Hill-Green, the linebacker from the Baltimore area, grew up idolizing Ray, my favorite all-time NFL Raven, Ray Lewis. This guy tries to play like Ray Lewis. He was an excellent player for Colorado, the linebacker coming to Alabama in a spot where the Tide really needed some help. Jahad Campbell is going to be an NFL pick. Deontay Lawson, I guess, could return. It would come back from an injury. But Alabama needing some help at that linebacker spot, they're going to get it with Hill-Green. So 3 big pickups for Alabama over the weekend, and who knows what could happen even as early as today. So Merry Christmas, Alabama. I'm even wearing my shirt just for you. Look at that guy. So Roll Tide. So that's where we are right now. Like and subscribe. Get in the comments section. Tell me what you guys think. I also want to remind you once again, newlifeart.com, promo code Bama Tailgate. Get 20% off at newlifeart.com. Put that promo code at checkout, and that's when you can take advantage of that deal. The other thing I want to tell you guys about is this, and I know that many of you are rock and roll fans, and Pearl River Resort is having some of the 90s best rockers there. Hinder, Tonic, and Fuel will be at Silver Star Convention Center. That is Saturday, December 28th, 2024. 2 rooms to Golden Moon Casino, 4 buffets, and 4 tickets to the concert. If you don't win this, then obviously you get the opportunity to purchase those tickets, and we appreciate those guys for checking, for giving us the chance to play Santa Claus and give out this. But thank you so much for hanging out with us. And like I said, my goal for all of you guys is to be here through the holidays. And really, it is awesome talking to you guys in the comments every day. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Really does mean a lot to me, so much. And from the bottom of my heart, as I say, most shows, but I should say every show. I don't know, maybe there was a show or two I didn't say this, but Roll Tide.
Pearl River Resort.